I welcome everyone to San Angelo Pachyderm's monthly meeting. Our mission statement is to promote active citizen involvement and education in government and politics through the formation of support of grassroots Republican clubs across America. The reason we come together as a club of community is because our principles, our values, and our beliefs. We believe in less government interference, less taxes, a free enterprise system, a Judeo-Christian-based society, the U.S. and the Texas Constitution. At this time, I ask you to please put your cell phones and other communication devices on vibrate or off, and I thank you for that. At this time, Judge Eddie Howard will lead us in prayer, and Tony Massaro will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Bow with me, please. Father in heaven, thank you for the opportunity of this day to be together in fellowship and learn something about our community. And Father, thank you for the opportunities that you've given each of us to be of service in this community. We ask you to help us to do that with honesty and integrity as we stand before those whom we serve. Father, we're mindful of some who have passed away, Marty Beecham and Terry Smith. We ask that you would be with them and their families and help them to get through this difficult time. We've got some friends who are suffering with illnesses, and each of us have those names, and please, as these thoughts come to our mind, each of us has those thoughts are presented before you. But Father, please bless Dolores Massaro and Annette Hopkins. We're mindful of their difficulties with their health, and we ask that you would be with those who are servicing and ministering unto them and help them to get through these difficult times and also be with their families. We thank you for the occasion of this weekend and Memorial Day. Father, we're mindful of what that day represents, and we'd ask that you would be with the servicemen and women of our nation who are, maybe some today, are in very difficult places, allowing us the freedom to be here today. We thank you for so many blessings that we enjoy. And Father, it's our thoughts and our understanding we need rain. Father, we know you are the creator of the universe. You keep everything in control, and you know what we need. We ask that you would bless us with what we need, not what we want. That's right. Thank you, Father, for loving us and caring for us, and be with us as we serve those whom we love and those who have put us in places of honor. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to thank the good Lord for bringing Fred Buck back from his surgery. We missed you. We're glad you're back.
Thank you. Yeah, not too bad.
If you're on the board of directors of the Pachyderm Club, would you please stand? And thank you for your service, folks. We appreciate it. At this time, I'd like to ask Deborah Bailey to come up and present the new Pachyderm members' pins.
We have 4 new members. Mr. Rick Bacon. Dwain and Vicki Morrison.
Thank you.
And Don Harvey. I'd like to welcome
Thank you, Deborah. Are there any announcements from the CRVW? Go ahead.
We have Glenn Hagar, the incoming comptroller, or we hope incoming. That will be speaking in our meeting, and it's tomorrow at the country club. And then there will be
You have a phone number?
653-7500 is the number for reservation. And there's also a reception for Mr. Hagar tomorrow night at 5:30 at the
Bill Pfluger's
Bill Pfluger's office,
at home.
home.
It is home on
It's on
D,
Avenue D.
1215 Avenue D.
1215 Avenue D, there we go. I thought it was at the,
I've got it, it's house.
And then we have commercial announcement by Becky, and then Lyle. Becky, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Want to invite you guys. This Friday we have I can't say quarterly because they're not 4 times a year anymore. They're 3 times a year. But our Medicaid CHIP Regional Advisory Committee meeting that is put on behalf of Health and Human Services Commission. A couple of things we'll be doing updates on: the Affordable Care Act, the expanded managed care, Women Health Program. It's now split into 3 different pieces, and they are covering men. So talk a little bit about several different projects. It is open to the public, 10 o'clock at the convention center. You guys are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Lyle.
I'd like to announce that Lisa Fritz, who ran in the Republican primaries, actually came in second behind Greg Abbott. She'll be speaking next week at a Tea Party meeting. I'd like for y'all, know you have a special invitation to come here and speak. Let me just tell you a little bit about her stirring the message of liberty and freedom, which is so relevant in this time of political chaos. We're glad she's going to be in town, and regardless of who you voted for governor, she's a very dynamic speaker with a great message. So you'd be greatly blessed to hear her. And this is going to be at the West Essex Training Center next Tuesday evening at 6:30. There will be light refreshments, so you are all welcome, and I hope to see you all there. Thank you. I do have flyers too.
Okay, and our highly esteemed and honorable Mr. Jeff Betty, Tongue County Republican Chair.
All right, there you go. I promise I'll thank you. Some of y'all already stole some of the stuff I want to talk about. We do have Glenn coming into town. Hi, Jeff. Good to see you. Jeff, if you want to talk about Glenn Hagar, this guy in the corner with the Glenn Hagar shirt, he might be the guy you want to talk. We're seeing way too much each other these days, aren't we? Driving back and forth. There are a couple of other issues. If you have an interest in going to the reception, call me, call Tracy King if you don't have my number, or if you have her number instead. We'll tell you where it's at, when it's at, that sort of thing. Please come to the CVRW if you can. Glenn's a great guy, and I think you're going to be pretty proud of him. Convention's coming up. If you have any questions about the convention, if you're attending, quite a few of y'all are going, aren't you? Several? Yeah. If you have any questions, holler at me and I'll tell you about what's going on. One of the things that is happening is I'm running for SREC, Executive Committee Man of the state party. Part of the reason for that is that, well, frankly, with Jane Cancino staying on, we need somebody to represent us from this area. Lubbock's good and they've always been kind to us, but we need our own representation from our area. I don't want to rely on the good graces of Lubbock. If I'm successful when I run, I'll let you know, and I'll start looking for my replacement because I don't want to keep both jobs. That doesn't mean I'll stop working with the county party. I won't abandon you, I promise. If nothing else, I'll take over treasurer or something. I think my precinct is open, but I still have a plan for what I think the county party needs to do, and just would be somebody else that would be the chair. It's too much to have 2 jobs, and so I just want to know that's coming up. That may happen. I'll let you know if it happens. If I'm not successful, then it's not a problem. Next thing, and on a more somber note, the Memorial Day is going to be doubly memorial this year. Marty Beecham's celebration will be on Memorial Day at 2 p.m. in Sierra Vista. Those of you who knew Marty. If you didn't know Marty, I remember one time she was angry and not smiling. One time in almost 20 years of association. And that was because a Democrat was being rude. The only thing to get Marty unhappy and make her frown was a Democrat being rude. The rest of the time, she was smiling and happy, always had a kind word for somebody. There were two women sitting at a table when Anita and I walked into our first Republican meeting almost 20 years ago in Montgomery County. It was Marty Beecham and Carolyn Minnie. That was a pretty good introduction. Called us at the beginning, and we've been stuck ever since. And that's the kind of people we need in the Republican Party. That kind of sweet, always patient, always pleasant, always willing to do what needed to be done. And we're going to miss Marty. We missed her for a while now, unfortunately. So anyway, if you knew her, if you didn't know her, come visit with us at Sierra Vista at 2 o'clock. Unfortunately, we've lost several good Republicans this last year, and it's good to come get together and memorialize and remember. If you're going to the convention, if you're there, let me know you're there. We'll get together as the delegation starts. We'll go to lunch. I'll take care of you. Trust me, I'll get you where you need to be. It's not that scary. It's fun. We have a good time. There is some important work to be done. I haven't seen anything too awfully interesting in the rules, though. Just a couple of little things. As far as platform, you know what the big deal in platform, right, for this convention? It's immigration. It's going to be critical. The rest of this country is starting to talk about other things and other possibilities, and Texas is still solid about the difference between legal and illegal.
Amen.
I don't think we need to say the word immigration. We just need to say the word legal and illegal.
Amen.
Do we? Is there anything else to discuss? No. So that's what we're going to say when we go, and those of you that come with me, I hope you'll agree with me that let's talk about what's legal and what's illegal. Let's not talk about what race, what color, what place these people may or may not be from. If they're here legally, welcome to America, and join in and pay your taxes. And if you're not, then go home, figure out how to get here legally, and come on back, because we want you here. That's what we're all coming from, and all of us got here in some weird way, shape, or form. That's what we want to do. We just need to get the rest of the country to follow Texas's lead on this. The Texas plan will be up again for vote. I'm confident that there will be a lot of discussion. If you have more questions about that, feel free. I've already used more than my 2 minutes. Thanks, Fred. I'm getting out of your way. I do have to leave. I've got another hearing this afternoon, so it's been one of those days. Y'all have a good day.
Being a lawyer, I know. Tony wanted to say a few words about Marty. Tony, you want to come up and say?
Okay. Tony's never said a few words.
Right.
What I wanted to say about Marty, much of what Jeff just said about her is absolutely accurate, very true. Marty was a member of our Pachyderm Club for quite a while, and the only reason she stopped coming was because of her illness prevented her from participating with us. And anyway, wanted to make sure we remember her. And along with what Judge Howard mentioned about Terry Smith, a longtime member also, he passed away several weeks ago. And Terry was the first recipient from this club of the Meritorious Service Award from Pachyderm. So Terry did a lot of good work for this. He's a quiet guy, but he was a worker and a doer, and really quite an exemplary man. And I think that was about everything that I wanted to say about the membership. We've been very fortunate in the type of members that we've had, and we've lost during the course of the years. We've been going on, this club will be going about 15 years now, and we've really been blessed with the type of membership that we've had. And we pray for the ones that have departed and for all the good work that they've done and their families. And I know we'll continue to press on the same way. So thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
We'll now introduce our elected officials. If you are elected officials, stand up as I point your name and office. Judge, okay, go ahead.
Judge Howard, Precinct 4, Justice of the Peace.
Judge McGuire, Precinct 2. Fred Button, Precinct 3.
Hey, long as precinct 1.
Sheriff David Jones.
And I'm the district attorney. I'm Allison Palmer.
Rick Bacon, Commissioner, Precinct 3.
Don Bartman, single member District 4.
And
Dwain Morrison, mayor of the city of San Angelo.
we have 2 running for office in November. You 2 stand up because we need that. They need all the FaceTime they can get. They both have an opponent, so we're going to back you guys up. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Will all veterans and prior military members please stand? Wow. Thank you, guys. By the way, I'm also prior military. I was with the 25th Division, 10th Special Forces, and 20-some years in the service. So I want to speak about the Veterans Administration, and I'm thinking that it just needs to be redone completely, and I think a lot of people need to go to jail. And I'm going to say this. I've never been to the Veterans Administration because when I took people there, they went there without arms and legs, and I swore I'll never go until they're all cured or taken care of, and I've never gone yet. And that's a fact. But there's a lot of people that need, as the president put, to be responsible for their actions. I think it's a crying shame what's happening up there. And now, for the man of the hour. You know, the only way I know how to introduce you, I found this old sign. Mayor, we appreciate you. Come on up. This is the Honorable Dwain Morrison, the mayor of the city of San Angelo. Mayor?
Thank you, Fred.
I wouldn't want to be in your spot today for all the money in the world.
It's not pleasant. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak to you just a little bit. And I didn't prepare a fancy speech. I wrote some stuff down on the yellow tablet this morning that I thought we would talk about very informally. Keep an eye on my time, Fred. I don't know how long I'm supposed to talk, but you know, I'm a part-time Church of Christ preacher and mayor. You keep me in the audience. I'll be here the rest of the afternoon. So keep an eye on me. It's time to stop. I'd like to have a little time at the end for questions and answers. So there's a lot of things going on in our city. There's a lot of positive things going on in our city. There's some problems that we're working with, some opportunities that we're working with. But I think that we have got the right people in place to take care of these problems. We had a report yesterday in our city council meeting from the outside external auditors. And they've been auditing our city. And can everybody hear me? Do I need a microphone?
We do.
I go to city council meetings, they turn everybody else's mic up, they turn mine off. So anyway, we had an audit yesterday from an external auditor, and the auditor spent some time going through the things that they had checked on our city and the things that they had looked at. And he said, when he got through, he said, very good. He said everything that he had tested, everything that he had looked at, all of the many different things, he said it is very good. We do have debt, and Terry brought this out a couple of months ago. We do have a city debt of about $250, $260 million somewhere in there. This debt will pay off in 2029. It was going to really start paying off real heavily next year. In fact, we're going to drop a bunch of it next year. But if we borrowed nothing else, we would be out of debt in 2029. However, the assets that the city has equals our debt. So we have assets as collateral for our debt. And he said that's one of the great things about this is that your assets through the last years, especially 2013, have grown and grown well. He said your general fund last year has grown and grown well. So yes, we do have a debt load of about $260 million. $120 million of that is the Hickory Water that we went out and we pulled the trigger on that in 2008. So $120 million of the 260 is one project. 2000, we put about $20 million into our infrastructure for water, the 2-inch water lines. We're very close to completion on that. After the big blow up at the mall in 2006, we put another $19 million into our sewer system. We borrowed money for that. We also decided in-house to take care of the valves and the many different things in our water system. So our water infrastructure is really in very good shape. We have, since 2000, we have been working on that, and we're bringing it up where it needs to be. And that's primarily between the water and Hickory is where our debt is. But everything is positive, everything is good. The auditors were pleased. I'm very pleased, and so is our staff. We also set a new council yesterday, and it's going to be very interesting. I personally can say that I think this is probably one of the best councils that I have been with in the 11 years that I have been on city council. Now, there's not a rubber stamp in our group, and yesterday's meeting we had 1 4-3 vote. We had 2 5-2 votes. I think we had 2 6-1 votes. And the rest of them were just housekeeping, and they were 7-0s. There's not a rubber stamp in our group. And I've got Rodney Fleming on the left end, that is on the one extreme. I've got Liz Grindstaff on the other, that is the other extreme. I think we need to keep them on both ends of the dais. But we've got an excellent council. They're all very strong, they're all very opinionated, they all have their own thoughts. Everyone on this council is a great asset. I thank the citizens for bringing back Rodney and Johnny Silks. I tell you what, these are the two of the strongest members that we have. I love both these boys. I want to tell you, I depend on them almost as much as I depend on Don and Marty Sell. But thank you for letting them come back. And as far as Liz Grindstaff, this girl brings some unique qualifications to our council. She's very strong. She is exceptionally intelligent. She jumped in with both feet yesterday. It's going to be a very interesting time. Probably discipline, and Don might agree with me, discipline may have been a little lax yesterday, but we're going to get back on schedule next time. We're going to speak one at a time. Things are going to be done decently. They're going to be done in order. We're not going to speak over each other. We're not going to blurt in. Yesterday was a little lax. It was a learning day. But we're going to take care of that next time, and things are going to get back like they're supposed to be. We've got a good council. We've got a strong council, and I think it's something that you should be proud of. Also want to brag on staff. I've been associated with staff for 11 years, and 2 years ago, I would not have made this statement. But today, I will. We've got a good staff. We've got a dependable staff. We've got staff that cares what's going on. We've got staff that finally gives us most of the information we need. We've got staff that gives us not half-truths or half information, but we actually get the information that we need to make the decisions that we're called upon to make. I am very proud of our staff. Now, in the last 2 years, there have been 6 members of our staff that have gone on to spend time with family. The staff we've got now is good. Daniel Valenzuela is good. We've got a good staff, and I think they're doing the very best that they can. It's a more comfortable attitude. It's a more comfortable feeling. And when we have a problem, they're there for us. Let's talk about water. And everywhere I go, these are the questions that I get. I wake up in the middle of the night worrying about water. I do not want San Angelo to become a ghost town on my watch. That is very important to me. So water is something that is very, very serious. Yesterday, we had several things that we did for water. We approved $180,000 for an engineer study for toilet to tap. I know how this sounds. We all know how it sounds, but Houston has been drinking toilet water forever. Everything goes downriver. We are talking about this, and yesterday we did approve $179,000 and change for engineering studies. This is a tremendous amount of money. Many would think that it's a waste, but the way things work now, if you don't have the engineers, and you don't have the lawyers, and you don't have the consultants, if you don't have the right people with the right information to get to the right people, absolutely nothing happens. And we spoke with Wichita Falls, who is already on the toilet to tap program, and they said, hire the best consultants and engineers that you can hire, put them on the job, because if you don't have them, you'll never get anywhere. Big Springs is already on the toilet to tap, so it's a very viable solution. It's something that many cities are going to. This is something that will allow us to have 7 million gallons of water per day. As long as there's water going into the lines, there's 6 to 7 million gallons that we're going to be able to pull out. This is now going into the canals, and the farmers irrigate out of it. There's a 1 year. Either one of us doesn't like it, we can break it. So this is a very real thing, and they put us on the fast track. We're going to get the engineering done. We're going to see exactly what we need to do. And probably within 5 years, we won't be drinking toilet water. Just the way it is. That's fast track. We also had another deal yesterday. This is a Red Arroyo project. There's been a lot of talk in the last couple of months about the Red Arroyo project. And what this is, when that water is in the arroyo, that belongs to us. As long as that water is in the arroyo, it's ours. Once that water hits the river, it belongs to the state of Texas. So the project and the plan is to save the water in the Red Arroyo project. So there's a pond that we're planning on constructing down by the river, down by the water plant. There's several acres there. We plan on building a pond. But there's problems. The water level is very high in this area, and you got to keep the river water out of the pond water. So they say you need, first engineer said you need 2 foot of clay. The next engineer said you need 10 foot of clay. The difference is the difference between 20 million and 50 million. So this is something that, it's something that we really need to understand. We don't want to kill the river going east of town. We have a responsibility to that river, just like we do to our citizens. But we have 5,000 acre feet that belong to us off of the river that we can use each and every year. It's ours. And 5,000 acre feet is 1/3 of our water that we use per year. It is, we need to look at every different option that we have. This was our 4-3 vote. Don voted against me. He does that occasionally, but it's his right to be wrong. So he voted against me. But I knew going in that I was going to be the tiebreaker on this, and I will admit I had no idea where I was going to vote until we got right to the end, because it's a very serious vote. I didn't want to spend the $111,000 it's going to take to determine how much it's going to cost us. They're going to drill pier holes, they're going to test the soil, they're going to determine how much clay we need, they're going to determine how big the pond should be. There's no reason to capture 10 or 12,000 acre feet, even if it's possible, when we can only keep 5. Because after we've captured our 5,000 acre feet, the rest of it has to go downstream. It has to go down to the river holders east. So we can only keep 5. We don't need a 10,000 foot pond for 5. It's very expensive. It's $111,000. Personally, I do not think this is a viable source of water. I think it's too little. We hadn't had enough rain in the last 2 years. There would not be 1 drop of water in our pond. But 1 rain could fill it up. So, you know, it's something we just have to measure, and we have to determine the expense and the cost and determine whether it's worthwhile. It's going to cost us $111,000 to know that. I really don't look at it as a viable farm. I think the water's too expensive, and I don't think there's enough. However, if you have no water, I guess it's a little hard to put a price tag on it. We did approve that as well. Also, I talked to Ricky Dixon this morning. The South Pool is still filling up with water, and right now, as of today, there's 1,704 acre feet of water in the South Pool. The good point is that the springs in Cristobal are still running. The South Concho is still running. It's still coming into our South Pool. Dove Creek, Spring Creek, I understand they've slowed down, but we're still getting water, 1,700. So about 2 weeks ago, we started pumping water out of the South Pool to the equalization channel to the North Pool, and then we'll pump it from the North Pool into Nasworthy. We did this 2 years ago. We had some water loss, and I questioned Ricky on this morning. He said, I tested it when it went in, I tested it when it came out, we lost less than 8%. He said, we're going to lose less. We said it would be about the same time this time, same way. We could have run it in the river. It's about a mile further, more evaporation, we're going to lose in the river as well. So he chose to go through the Red Arroyo, to the equalization channel like we did last time, so we will be using the South Pool water. Right now, we're setting at about 11% on Ivy. We're setting at less than 50% on Nasworthy. Stephanie, I want y'all to introduce you to Stephanie Johnson. She is the reporter from KIDY, and very good newscast. I appreciate what you girls are doing, and the rest of the guys. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you, Stephanie. We've got less. November, we're going to be out of water. It doesn't rain. So, we've got hickory coming on in November. So, that's about 6 million gallons a day. We're using 11 right now. It's not enough, but it's enough that we can still eat and drink and cook. Hickory will be on. We have been pulling hickory water. We started the first of the month. We pulled about 1 million gallons a day. We mixed it 10-to-1 ratio. TCEQ told us to mix it 5-to-1. We mixed it 10-to-1. Primarily it was to test our pumps and our stations and our tanks and all of this. Everything worked pretty well. We did catch a couple of glitches. They have cut it off now and they're making all the repairs that needed to be done. But all in all, it worked and worked well. So November, we're going to have our water treatment plant up. We can pull 6 million gallons a day. We've got 5, that's 9 pumps. We've got 5 more under construction, which would give us 9 million gallons a day, which we've banked for 5 years, at which time we'll start dropping down. 5 pumps are digging, drilling, should have already been ready. They got one down to 3,000 foot, it's ready, or about 3,200 foot. They got the other one down to almost 3 and broke a bit off in it, and they're still trying to fish it out. The other one, they're down to about 200 foot. They have encountered some limestone there that is very difficult to go through. So it's slow, but we're drilling 5 additional wells. We hope to get 6 to 9 million gallons a day of water once we get this thing completed. And just for, I think I already said it, but Wichita Falls and Big Spring, they're already using toilet water. That takes care of that. South Pool, drought 3 next month. One of the meetings in June. They told us yesterday we have less than 13 months. At 12 months, we're going to drought 3. That means no water. Right now it's every 2 weeks. We go to drought 3, that's no watering. We're going to have to work with the car washes. Car washes use about 15 gallons to wash a car. That's about what we use in our dishwasher. And they've got some very good arguments. You know, don't cut us off. I know Gentle Touch has 2. I was talking to them. They have 2 locations. There's 16 people that work at each one of them. So when you start cutting people's work off and cutting their ability to make money off and cutting their income off, it's a very serious thing. So we will be working with that. The last time we did this in 2012, I think we gave them 2 or 3 months. You know, we're at 12, but at 9 months we're cutting you off. So you've got 3 months, and if it doesn't rain, you're going to be cut off. Also has a problem with the swimming pools. We allowed them last time to top them off. We did not allow them to fill. It's also a problem for the aquifers. And Bacon, you know what I'm talking about here. We've got these aquifers in North San Angelo that literally take care of thousands of people that have no other choice. And when we go to drought stage 3 and people continue to water, if they can't use city water, they're going to our part of town. They're buying water, and there's people out there that's selling it to the highest bidder. They're hauling it across and spraying it on their trees. Our wells are dropping, they're dropping all over town, and when our aquifers are dry, we both have problems, buddy. Serious problems. So, you know, this is a big decision, and this is something that we will not take lightly, because drought stage 3 is very, very serious. It affects a lot of people. Some tough choices, and I guarantee you right now, there's not one person in this town that's going to like anything we do, but it's coming, and it's coming next month if it doesn't rain. Talk about streets just a minute. I don't know where I am on time, but I'm going to talk about streets and I'm going to shut up.
Before you go to streets, let's ask some questions on water, because I do have a question on water. I think the city's in a vicious cycle, because I drive around town and I see more and more building. And you have more building, you have more people. You have more people, you have more water usage. So what kind of course of action is this? It doesn't make any sense to me.
You know, it's a hard thing, but this is a capitalist society. I can't tell you what you can build on your property, and I can't tell him what he can build. And I can't tell anybody that comes in and pulls a permit that wants to build a house or a business or a hotel, I can't tell them, no, you can't do that.
Thank you.
I can't tell them that, because this is a capitalist society. I'm going to tell you another problem, and hotels is what I keep hearing about, and I guarantee you my phone stays busy. Every time a new hotel starts going up, a permit, I start getting the calls. La Quinta last year was $260 a night. Do you know what that did to our tourists? We had to cancel conventions. We can cancel ball games and tournaments. Man, they were dropping like flies, because you can't bring a group of people in here and charge them $250 a night to stay when they can go to San Antonio for $70 a night, or Dallas, or Austin, or anywhere else. It was destroying us. La Quinta now is down to about 129, and the only reason they're there is because there's been hotels built, and it's called supply and demand. It's always worked, it always will work. But I agree with you, I know what you're saying, I feel your pain, but we're not in the business of telling people what they can and can't do in a capitalist society, because that's what we all do. We all have to have our way to make a living. So, Yes, sir.
I just got one thought on this, probably, maybe some cooperation or association between the counties and the city as to the aquifers themselves. Has there been any study done as to how much water there's down there? Any engineering studies?
Not to my knowledge. I know I live out on the north part of town, and I'm on a,
I understand that, and, you know, that, but I think if there was some kind of study, it would also help those people outside, because a lot of people who don't live in the city have that mentality, well, I have well water, but they don't really know how much is there until it goes dry, and then they're screaming at the county and the city combined.
it's all tied together.
So,
You're
I was
right.
wondering if
Rivers.
there's any chance of a study being done on that.
Not to my knowledge.
There's some that have been done. I mean, they've identified the aquifers. Sometimes it's a little difficult to always identify exactly how much water's underneath there because you're not sure how deep they are.
Well, it's just like the oil business, you go and you look and you say there's an estimate, so I think if there's something that's put out and said there's an approximate amount that water maybe.
I thought that aquifer on the north end I thought it was an ocean. And then 10 years ago, Miles bought the truck for them right there on Cauley Lane. And they built a pipeline to Miles, and they started pumping that thing 24/7. 6 months' time, all the wells on the Atlantic and Pacific and up and down Cauley Lane were drying up. I'm on the east end of Cauley Lane. It didn't reach mine, but they all dropped. They dried up, and we had to take city water to them. So, you know, I thought we had a tremendous aquifer, but I'm seeing it, and I'm talking to people now, and it's dropping. They're dropping. We're losing wells every day. So, who else?
You got one right over there.
When you were talking about outside watering when we go to stage 3, will that also include watering the foundation of your homes? Because we stopped even watering the grass, we've been watering the house.
If I can get 3 people to go with me on this, we will still allow hand watering of trees, and we will allow hand watering of a foundation.
That's all things.
Especially if people live in the southwest part of town with this clay soil. If you don't water them, your house is going to be next door. So we've got to water this. Scott?
Is San Angelo participating in the cloud seeding program?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are.
I heard that they weren't.
But you got to have a cloud before you can participate.
I saw one.
There's potential for one.
That's all it takes.
Yeah, this takes one.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you know, and I don't even know if it's legal, but there are at least 3 different fire hydrants that are being used by big trucks to fill up 10,000 or so gallons at a time. And I have first of all, I have a problem with us selling it when we're having this trouble, but we're also the meter, I understand, is on the truck, is what they tell me. The meter that is used to say, if we are doing it legal, to say how much water they're taking is on the truck. It's not on the fire hydrant. And it's kind of like the fox watching the hen house. How do we know how much water they're actually taking? And should we be doing that?
If I had my way about it, personally, I think the second time they're caught, we ought to just give it to them. I think that's the way to solve the problem. And yes, we've got oil companies all over town, especially out in the south part of town, where it's kind of hidden. And I get reports on this once a week. I saw a truck out there loading up water on the truck. I've alerted the city police. I've alerted.
So that's not legal.
They're
not taking the water
It
legally.
is not legal.
Okay,
It's illegal.
that tells me
I
what
think we ought
I need to
to, we need to confiscate the truck and the trailer, and it costs them more than the new one to pick it up. And the
They're
second
gonna have
time,
some flat tires.
next time you get it.
Hey.
This is serious.
I know, that just irritates me. You can see, if you go by Rivercrest Hospital, you can see the trucks are there enough that there's oil deposit there by and out by Winky's apartments there on Smith Boulevard.
I get the reports every day, and I turn them over to the police. And they're supposed to be looking, and as is our code boys, as is everyone in the city. They're to be looking for this.
Well, that's my question.
Turn them in to
I'm so
David
glad
Jones.
you gave me that answer.
You can use a guillotine on them, can't you?
I refrain from.
Don't that. What else? Yes, sir.
Is there anybody even thinking about desalination, supplying water to San Angelo?
We looked at
Mayor, could you
that.
repeat the question, please, because not everybody can hear you.
He's asking about desalination. 5, 6 years ago, before we pulled the trigger on Hickory in 08, we had a real heavy test. Western Tom Green County, Eastern Irion County. We punched some holes out there. The state of Texas even helped us on this. We got some of Perry's money. We tested those wells. We pumped these wells. We determined if we could use it. Because really, that's what we wanted to do instead of going to Hickory. It would have been cheaper, and nobody wants salt water. And that's what we wanted to do. There's not enough water out there. There's not enough water, and a lot of the water that we did find was saltier than ocean water. And a lot of the formations we found out there was, our consultants, our engineers came back and said it's just not going to work. And I talked to some old well diggers, dug wells all over that area, and he said there's stuff down there you don't want to bring to the surface. He said there's some water out there that is nasty and black and filthy. And he said you don't want that stuff to the top, because he says I punched through it one time and had it on the top. He said you don't want it. So we did test that. No matter.
Plus, desalinization is extremely expensive.
But it's not as expensive as it was even 8 years ago. It's getting better. And really, I think I think the state needs to get in there.
Yeah.
And needs to start this. And we can't do it by ourselves. The state can.
Yeah, it's actually part of the State Water Board and the Water Development Plan they've included that as part of the plan is some of the recovery in water for desalinization.
From the Gulf?
No, from underground right now.
San Antonio's
For Tom Green County, it would be underground water.
San Antonio's doing it. You know, the Gulf's 500 miles away and it's all uphill. So, Don?
One of the things, Big Springs, we took a tour of that plant on their recycling, and Dwayne probably won't tell you this, but they've got a sign up there, if you recycle, you can drink your beer twice. But, I'm sorry, that's not but one of the main things is it naturally desalinates the water. When that water comes out, all the minerals are out of it, and it doesn't really cost any more money to take the salt and all the rest of the impurities out. So,
But that's something we need to look at. By the way, this Hickory water, when we get through running it through our system out, we have to take the iron out of it first. There's a lot of iron in it. And then take the radon. We're going to have water. We're going to have to start putting stuff back in to even taste. It's going to be distilled water. It's going to be tremendous water. And you know, this radon, again, radium, all of this, it's a political thing. They've been drinking this water in Mason and Brady. They've been drinking it ever since there's been people there. And there's never been a problem until the government lowered the standard. They went from, I think, 25 picky 35 picky areas down to 5. And all of a sudden, then we have to treat it.
They did that 7 years ago.
Yes.
Nobody glowing in the dark?
No. All of us have 2 eyes.
And no hair.
You want me to talk about streets just a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
We talked about some street options, and I think everybody understands, has ever driven on Bell Street or MLK or Howard or Rugboard North, Chadbourne, or any of the other streets in town. We got some serious problems in our streets, and they're getting worse by the day. Bell Street is probably at the top of the list. We've got to fix it. That's an $8 million project. We talked about this yesterday, looked at some options so that we could start putting a fund together to rebuild our streets. One of the options we talked about, and this may be coming to you, is a street tax. $5 a month per every meter, 36,000 meters, I think she said, on her water bill, on your utility bill. $5 a month would raise a little better than $2 million a year. Don brought up and has been pushing, and I think it's dead in the water after yesterday. He talked about taking 1/8 of the half-cent sales tax and devoting that to streets. It'd have to be done by a voter election, and it has to be done every 4 years. This would put in about $2 million a year. For the last several years, the city has been putting into the capital improvement funds anywhere from $1.5 to $1.7 million a year into a street fund, and we're continuing to do that and will continue. So it may take a combination of many things, but they're saying right now we need $60 to $70 million to fix our streets. I will not vote to borrow $60 to $70 million and add that to our debt. I'm not going to vote for it. Now, I might put it on the ballot and let you vote for it, if you want to do that, but each cent in property tax equals about $330,000. So, you know, you take $50 to $60 million and divide it by 330, you're talking about raising your property taxes 15 to 20 cents. I'm not going to do it to you. But those are some options that we looked at. I am not in favor of an outright borrowing to do this, but if we could start putting $2 to $4 to $6 million a year into this fund, even if it's from a combination of sources, you know, we could fix Bell Street in 2 years, and we could fix MLK in 4 years, and we could start maintaining the streets that we have. So these are things that's coming down the pike that you're going to have to be involved in. And that's about all I have. Any more questions?
Bill.
Yes, sir.
Got a question for you. I'd like to shift gears a little bit, if I
Okay.
could. My understanding is this current half-cent sales tax that we have, I believe has no sunset provision now. Is that correct? Well, I think it ought to have the sunset provision. It goes on forever, and to me, it's somewhat of a boondoggle now. It lost its original focus, and I'm not really happy about it, and I think there's probably other people out there that are not happy about it. My question to you is, what would the procedure be to repeal the city half-cent sales tax? Can you enlighten me on that, please?
And the question is, how do we repeal the half-cent? Mr. Tony, respectfully, sir, I don't want to repeal it.
Thank you.
Okay. This has been a tremendous opportunity for us. And it's not only the citizens that pay for it, but it's everyone that comes through San Angelo. And it's all of the communities around. We have used this to build our park out here on the south part of town. Some people call that fluff. Maybe it is, but it is a tremendous tourist attraction. It brings a lot of people into town. And you've all seen the figures on these tourist dollars, how they multiply out. It's a big deal for us. We've used it to do other things in town. You are right, Tony. When we first brought this sales tax in, it was a volunteer board. It didn't cost us a dime. We now have 3 or 4 people that are on the payroll. The latest one we just hired, Roland Pena, brought him in and lived right at $100,000, which in my opinion is $30,000 too much. I didn't appreciate that, and I told our city manager. However, we're dealing with the same economics in the city that everyone else is dealing with, and if you want somebody, you've got to pay them. We've got an assistant that we lowered him down. But a lot of money that was coming in that was going to projects is now going to salaries. I don't like it, but they're doing a lot of things. It's highly competitive. We're dealing with communities from all over the state, and all the rest of the states have far more money to work with than we do. So 72% of it under this same sunset, when we voted to take the sunset, 72% of the half-cent sales tax goes to water, to find water, to develop water. It goes strictly to our water. So that doesn't leave the 28% that goes to the rest of it. So if it were not for that water fund right now, we would be in worse shape even than we are. We pay for about half of it. People come through San Angelo pay the other half. So you can, I didn't answer your question.
No.
You're going to have to get a petition up. I think it is 25% of the ones that voted in the last mayoral election. 25% of the people will sign with their, actual voters. Then you can bring it to the city council, and we are forced to put it on the ballot.
And then you can vote it down.
Then you can vote it down.
Which they probably would.
Our time's up here. He's very passionate about the city. He's very knowledgeable. We thank you for all the wonderful things you do.
We would like to present you with this token of our appreciation.
Thank you,
gift wrapping on.
This is not a beer mug.
I can use that big spring.
It's for tea.
Thank you very much. I will use that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Jasper wanted to say a couple of words to us.
As a minister, I'm always excited when husband and wives live together the way I believe God intended. And I just want to give a quick testimony to Terry and Marquita Smith. What a great couple. He was an insurance adjuster, and they traveled around all over where. And they had 6 children. But Terry and Marquita worked in perfect unison. Every time they were introduced to somebody new, they always said this. Terry would say, "We have 6 children. They're all boys except for the 3 girls. Marquita would always immediately respond, we have 6 children. They're all girls except for those 3 boys. Well, when they had introduced themselves as having 6 children, the response typically was, you guys must be Roman Catholic with 6 children. And in perfect unison, Terry and Marquita would say, no, we're just a couple of sexy Baptists.
Next month, on the 18th of June, a local attorney, Mark Brown, will be our guest speaker, and he will be speaking on what it takes to change the U.S. Constitution. Mr. Brown's very knowledgeable on the U.S. Constitution. He's a graduate of the Chicago Law School. Again, he's a local lawyer. He spoke to us before, and he's very entertaining. So please come next month on the 18th at 11:45. And that's it. I appreciate you.
On June the 3rd at 6:30, we're going to be having a public hearing on this idea called vote centers. If you haven't heard about vote centers, what it would do to make a change. Right now they've come up with 18 different polling locations around the county. And if we can go to vote center on election day, you could vote at any of the 18 polling places. You wouldn't have to be only in your precinct. The only exception would be no paper ballots on election day, but it would have paper ballots during early voting. So they're taking public input, 6:30, June 3rd.
Where at?
Eddy Keys Building, County Commissioner's Office.
Commissioner's Court.
Commissioner's Court. Mr. Bacon, Commissioner Bacon gave 2 of them out at Precinct 3, and extremely good. And I think that people really bought off on this. It saves money and it makes for less government, and that's good. That's a good thing. Yes, Becky?
Special guest,
Pardon me?
our guest.
Oh, I forgot the
That's
guest.
okay.
Go ahead, introduce your guest.
Okay, well, she's Sandra's, but I share her too. Go ahead, Sandra.
Introducing my daughter, my only child, Alexis Mobley, who recently, a recent graduate of Angelo State University. Her degree is in biochemistry. She graduated with her bachelor's magna cum laude and looking forward to going on to Abilene, Texas Tech, Biotech program.
We've got an election right now that people need to support.
Yes, we do have an election right now. Any other visitors?
And early voting goes from 7 to 7.
Yes.
Early voting is 7 to 7 through Friday.
Through Friday.
Those folks down
Oh, I'm sorry. Introduce your visitors there.
These are the Smiths.
The Smiths, okay.
I
thought they were the Jones. I'm sorry, go ahead.
They used to be Jones till they got in trouble. But I knew them in Brady, Texas. They moved down here, and now they're living with us here in San Angelo. They're friends of ours and friends of mine.
Because they know they can have water here in San Angelo.
They can drink drinking water here. Charles Smith.
Charles Smith, thank you. Did you come here before?
Yes, I have.
And your name?
I'm Margie Belcheff.
Marcy. And again, Fred Buck, you're welcome back. We appreciate you for everything you do.
Well, I think.
Got our prayers with you.
Prayers and are concerned, and it's good to be back.
The rest of the judges are happy, I'm sure.
That's it.
I don't know what I would do. I'll never be able to repay for what they did for me those 3 or 4 or 5 months. So.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. We're good?
Yeah, I'm
We're good for next month. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.